All right, guys, today is our full body bodybuilding day. What this is gonna look like today, we have 8 to 12 sets per rep. In each station, we should take about 10 minutes before we move on to the next station. We shouldn't get hung up on any movement for too long. But again, like I said, we want to somewhere between that 8 to 12 rep range, if not more. 100 reps is a lot on each of these movements, but it'll get us a pretty big pump as we are flowing through. So the movement that we are starting with is a lower body hinging movement. We are gonna start with double dumbbell deadlifts as we go through. Again, as you're thinking through this, yes, there's a primary goal for this movement, but also think, where is the rest of my body? So we're gonna start with 100 of these double dumbbell deadlifts. So from a side view, all we're gonna think about from here, you're gonna push your butt back, make sure that those dumbbells go all the way to the ground, but as I do this, I don't wanna be here. I wanna make sure that my back stays nice and flat, that my shins stay vertical as I stand those guys right back up before I go right into the next set. Guys, again, somewhere between that 8 to 12 rep range, but if we can go more, we can go more as well. Guys, for our next movement, we are gonna move on to our offset push-ups. Offset referring to our hands. So one hand's gonna be slightly in front, one hand's gonna be slightly behind, but just make sure our hands are staying about shoulder width apart as we do these. So as I go down, again, we have 100 of them. So pick a scaling option that allows us to do somewhere between 8 and 12, because if we don't, we may take a little bit too long. Again, we have that 10-minute time cap, the soft time cap, before we move on to the next one, just so we're not spending all day on these movements. But again, hands, one hand a little bit further in front, one hand a little bit further behind. But as I go down, just make sure those elbows stay pinned back before I drive up. You're gonna do as many as you can on that side before you switch to the other side. But again, as you get going, make sure that you're keeping it balanced one side versus the other. But again, that offset refers to your hands as you go. 100 total of those, somewhere between 8 to 12 reps, if not more. Guys, from there, we move on to dumbbell pullovers. I've only ever done these with one dumbbell over our head. What we're thinking of these, it's a big lat pump as we go through. You're gonna need some way to lay up higher. If not, the range of motion will be a little bit shorter, and a bench is the perfect way to do this. So as I do this, that pullover just refers to hitting that range of motion that I'm fully extended in that position, but as I lay down on the bench, I'm gonna go here. The dumbbell is gonna start right above my chest. I'm gonna rotate back until I feel that big stretch in my lats, and then I'm gonna squeeze through my lats to pull that guy right back over my head. I have pretty tight shoulders, so as I do this, my shoulders become a little bit of a limiter from a mobility standpoint. If that's the case, feel that stretch, don't overstretch it, there's no reason to be a hero. But again, 8 to 12 reps is what we were shooting for on those guys. Both hands on the dumbbells as they come back and as they go forward. 100 reps of those. Guys, from there, we are moving on to dumbbell upright rows. Using a light dumbbells, or a light band. Upright rows, so we're here, and we are going straight up, driving our elbows high as we do these. Make sure, as you are driving these elbows up high, we're not trying to do one of these guys. We are making sure that those elbows always stay above the dumbbells before we go back down. Guys, I just did one rep with 15s. I could maybe do a set of 8 with those, but again, the more targeted those muscle groups are, the lighter we're gonna have to go with the dumbbells. Again, the goal today is to get a pump. Make sure we can hit that 8 to 12 rep range, if not more, because then we can keep hammering through before we get to that 10-minute time cap. Guys, from those upright rows, we're moving to palm up or supinated bicep curls. Use both arms at the same time just to get through these guys. What we are thinking, again, a lighter dumbbell or a band is the preferred way we're gonna do this. And again, as we're doing this, the big thing I see all the time, make sure we are locking all the way out at the bottom before we curl and get to the top. Lock it all the way out at the bottom before we get all the way to the top. Don't do one of these guys. Yes, it'll still make your biceps feel big, but be strong in that full range of motion before we bring those guys back up. Guys, those are with palms up. Again, 8 to 12 reps on those guys before we move on to the next one. 10-minute cap is, again, where we are trying to rely in that. Guys, after those, we have bench dips. That is to hit our triceps. Again, 100 of those guys, so if we want to have a bench a little bit higher, it'll make it easier. The lower the bench gets, the harder it'll be. But we are thinking here, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to drop myself down till I get to where my elbows are just higher than my shoulders, and I'm going to drive back out of the bottom there. I'm going to go down till my elbows are higher than my shoulders, and I'm driving out of the bottom. Guys, think of a push-up. When I get to the bottom of a push-up, my shoulder is below my elbow. That is the standard before my chest hits the ground. Keep that standard for the dips. Make sure we hit that full range of motion on the way down before we drive back out of the bottom. Somewhere between 8 to 12 reps, 100 total before we move on to the next one. And guys, we got a 10-minute cap on that guy as well, just to keep this workout not a 4-hour workout, something that we can move through, still get a really good workout from there. Guys, after that, we have a little bit of an ab circuit. Guys, and after we get done with those bench dips, our last 10-minute station is going to be for our abs. 4 different 25 rep pieces. We're gonna go back and forth between toes to bar and hanging knee raises. So if you have a pull-up bar, starting with those hanging knee raises, it's gonna be a little bit easier, but there's always substitutions for things. So when I do those hanging knee raises, as I come over to the bar, I'm gonna hop up, and again, you're hanging, and you raise your knees. So when I hop up, I'm gonna grab the bar, I'm gonna pull my knees up before I go back down, pull my knees up before I go back down. You do the same thing with tuck-ups. What we're gonna do for those, again, this is a substitution if you do not have a bar. You're gonna lay down on the ground. You're gonna get to an extended position, but you're still hollow, and you're gonna tuck up and then back down, and then tuck up and back down. Again, if you imagine if I'm holding onto a bar as I do that, it is a very similar range of motion. Guys, then from there, if we have, again, that bar, we can do toes to bar one of two ways. You can do them kipping, or if you want the more meathead side of it, try to do them strict. When you do that, again, the standard, you get all the way locked out, and you bring your feet up to touch the bar. So if I'm gonna do one kipping, I'm gonna bring my feet up to the bar. If I try to do it strict, make sure when you jump up, keep that swing to a minimum. You're gonna go from here, you're gonna roll up, touch the bar, come down still, nice and controlled. Guys, if we do not have a bar to hang on as we do that, most people, especially in your basement, have some sort of pole that is stuck to the ground. Grab onto that pole. You're gonna do a supine leg raise. Make sure you can get fully extended with your arms as you do this. And then you're doing the same thing, using this guy for leverage. You're bringing your feet up, touching the bar, control all the way down. Guys, it's really easy to hammer through those if I just kind of flop down, get up, flop down, get up. Put a little bit of effort into the negative all the way back down. You're gonna get a lot more of a stretch through your hip flexors, and it's gonna make that a lot more potent of a movement. So again, you go from those hanging knee raises to the toes to bar, to the hanging knee raises, to the toes to bar. That's it. Cool. Guys, that is today's workout.